still playing?
Yes, sir.
It looks like they are. It's the current use thing. How did that get so screwed up?
You ready? All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. 6 o'clock. Any changes, additions, or removals to the agenda?
Not here.
If not, I would like to move the SDR discussion to right after the select board email from Senator Allison Clarkson and taxes. I think that's a good setup for a discussion. And if I could, make number 7, we have a new FEMA buyout request. I don't see that anywhere else, so we should discuss that.
You guys have to vote on my liquor permit too.
Okay. We'll put that under other business.
You have booze and stuff? We have to have it for the other one. And to that, so the second.
Okay. Okay. And we also have an educational tax ad discussion. And I'll put that right after SDR.
Oh, this one. Great.
Okay. So our first job is to approve the minutes from August 19th. Now we'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll
Is there any
second it.
discussion?
It's right here. I'll second it.
Next, our job is to approve our meeting minutes from the special meeting on Wednesday, August 21st, when we met with Scott Jensen and our engineer to look at the Dublin Road project. I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second that. I didn't realize that was an official meeting. On the road? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
And our last job on this is to approve our meeting minutes from Wednesday, September 11th at the municipal building.
I don't want to hold a second.
I'll second.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Any discussion?
Nope.
My pen right through it. Okay. Any comments from those attending? Okay. Just a quick update on the grader grant that we were looking into. That has closed for this year, but that will reopen next year. So we just keep that on the list.
Okay.
We're not out of the running. The select board to review and approve errors and omissions. And Mike, you're here, did you want to kick this off at all?
As to rounding, and Mr. Shipman, because of the computer skewed by about 50,000.
Okay. So you gave us a total tax. Can you tell us, I haven't read this. I've read the errors and emissions report. Can you tell us how that affects us? Will we be credited by the state?
Our, the errors and omissions certificate is submitted before December 1st, then we can deduct from this, our state obligation, we can deduct. So it's not something that we have to pay based on this.
Got it.
And the total, the net effect is approximately $20,000 in value to the positive for the town.
Okay. So that's not tax, that's grand list value, 20,000 in grand list value,
That's taxable, yes.
taxable. So it's 2.6% of 20,000. So that's not, or 1.9 if it's going to the school. So that's not, that's negligible amount.
Has a negligible effect.
Okay. Any questions about this?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Can
Thank you.
I just ask on that, sorry, just because I have to sign that?
You do.
So when I look at value, and when I spoke about this earlier, when I look at previous tax bill that went out, the current tax bill after it's been corrected, that's where I came up with like that 20,000 actual dollars. So how are you coming up with like 20,000 like assessed value?
I'm based, the 20,000 I based on the amount of value that changed.
Okay, so we had like 129,000, we had 180 in the right-hand column. There's value of like 107,000. And a couple of those, I'm not sure.
For example, the first one was a negative 52, second one was a positive 83. So the net effect from that is approximately 30 grand. On the case, the last one would be a negative 54. So specifically, it's difficult to explain like that.
That first page you gave me, I believe we approved already, the one Michelle gave on there, because that's the one you guys signed in July.
Didn't realize I was approved. It's not signed.
Because I went into the previous tax bills and the tax bills, and there was no difference. The one value here was changed from 312, 810, 183 to 129,000. Then we had another one that was $1,037,000, that was reduced to 822,000, which is 215 roughly. Then we had another one that was 225,700, reduced to 171,200, which is 54,500 negative. Then we had one that was in the tax bill, but inactive, which, like I said, I just want to be sure I'm understanding what I'm signing. If I'm, and that was a value of 259,630. So that's, 200.
Jonathan Moore, that was a inactive parcel that he was billed for. I don't have a value on that.
I looked at the previous tax bill, it was 259,630. So.
I don't have that figure.
Well, like in the case of the one you're talking about here, this is 5166 Route 100. It went from 312, 810 down to 183, 810. So why is there that big of a downgrade in the value?
That particular one was Christopher Buckley, the dwelling was not 100% complete. When the tax bills were produced, the percentages of completion, some of them get skewed in this particular case, 100%, when in fact the building was only half done.
So what, it was overvalued based on the current state of
Overvalued, yes.
completion? Are they all kind of the same ballpark or same parameters?
Well, in that, again, that particular case, it happens when the two software programs were merged, it took 100% and not the 64%. So it had to be adjusted. Case of Eileen Beecher, it went from 1.3 million to 822. Due to, the land was doubled. Instead of 3 acres like they have, they now have 6
6.
acres.
Yeah, it usually sounds like all this snafus, software snafus, not talking to each other.
Correct.
Programming, communicating. So it's not a big impact on the overall grand list then for our tax base?
It won't be when we, if this is filed before December 1st.
Angela, is your question?
Well, for clarification, because we said it's 20,000 in assessed value, which equates to like 2.6 something, but it's really more than 20,000. It's like half, if it's a moot point, if it's filed before December 1st, but it's like $500,000 in value, realistically.
But I'm looking at it the same way you are, like I see that big, it's a lot, if you add it all up just on those face value numbers, yeah, it's like $500,000 or more.
Yep.
Okay. I just make sure when approving, that's what the understanding is, because I'm gonna approve it I'll sign it based on you guys approving it.
And our understanding is that this does not affect it'll be corrected once submitted before the deadline, it shouldn't be.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It will lower the town's coffers by a small amount.
But had they paid on that amount already?
Many of them have, yes.
So they get a refund or some sort?
No, we applied, that would be applied to their February.
Yeah. Well, that's fine, that works out too.
You don't tell them that option is available.
If I may say, I think that's a cherry in the treasurer thing, because she's the one who's got to send out the new revised tax bills and what her comfort level is on. Let them know.
Do we need to revisit that at all with Cherry?
She's aware
Okay.
of this, and I don't think she was able to get on yet, but
Okay.
her and Michael, we spoke, and she said she was going to hold off on sending anything to these guys, until it was approved tonight, which she didn't feel comfortable without the approval. And I need a revised tax bill.
Are there a possibility of more of these type of errors happening?
Yep.
And it's just a matter of, as they come up, we find them, obviously people are looking at their tax bills and going, oh, holy crap. That's how they're coming to these conclusions, right?
We have a particular case, Josh Rock, over on Scott Terrace, where his value changed $220. And it's just simply a compounding, when the two software programs were merged, it had a $220 difference. So it's in the merging process is how these things get brought to light.
All right, something big like 6, from 3 to 6 acres, you're gonna see that right off the bat. Something like $260. I might even just, you open your mail, you look at it, you don't even think anything of it.
In KGB's jury, yeah, that was how it was.
Oh, $260,
Focused. And the same thing with Henry Shipman. His value was increased because of the current use program monies were inaccurately added or deducted from the taxes.
Michael, did we know, and I didn't have time to look when I was looking at the tax book, do we know if any of these values are for like 2, 3, 4, 5 years? Did we confirm?
No,
that-
they're all current.
Okay, I just, for reimbursement purposes. Can I just ask that, and it's not that I don't believe you, Michael, just I want to find out about this 411, and if we file it, because there was a comment earlier that we were still responsible. And it's not that I just heard two different answers, that we would still be responsible, so I just want to clarify before I
Okay.
sign this.
Do you want to have it on the next agenda too?
Yeah,
Okay.
can we just do
Yeah.
a little bit more, just because
Yep.
it was a little quick?
Yeah, it gives us enough time.
Okay.
You all good?
So we're not gonna approve this until we review it again next
Well,
meeting?
Angela has to sign off on it by law, and it sounds like Angela isn't ready to sign off on it yet. She wants to check on a couple of things, so let's,
We still have time, right? We have to,
Yeah.
what, December? All
First.
right, well, then we have plenty of time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Next on the list, another FEMA buyout was approved. It is adjacent to the bus property, I believe. 4257 Route 100, a vacant lot owned by Alan and Carla Bradis. That's another federal buyout, the same as the bus property.
Is that the lot between Mrs. and the Brook?
It is, it's got that lime kiln.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. They just bought that, didn't
Couple years ago, maybe?
Couple of years ago.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, you're neighbors with them.
Never met them, but
Okay.
the idea to try to build there anyway.
The lime kiln was done well for some, whatever reason. No explanation for that, but it looks like the additional award amount would be $25,990. And it looks like there's a couple things that have to happen. We have to approve this. The property will require Vermont Emergency Management to submit a new, I think it's, I don't know what SHPO, but I believe it's historic review. And that's coming in a separate email. It does not include an increase in management costs. But it's the Flood Resilient Communities Fund, and that's who we know with the buyout of
So it's this
the bus property, yep. I mean, that seems like a good one.
So they're gonna make more money on it than they paid them?
I don't know what they paid for it.
25.
Tesla did.
I think they paid close to 25.
Yeah, and I was against that from the very beginning.
And how much is FEMA?
For this one, $25,990 to buy out that building lot. Seems a little,
Yeah, I think they paid this. They put some money into clearing the plot.
What's that?
Yeah, that's just a tax loss for them.
so with the bus property, the 414,803 is the total that this Flood Communities Fund has paid Plymouth.
Gotcha. Good.
Question, these FEMA buyouts.
Yeah,
My understanding is that the lot next to that, which you mentioned the person who owned it, they purchased that, well, the lot in 2019 was appraised at about 100 and some odd thousand,
it was.
and then they gave her $300,000.
Oh, you mean the property with the house on it?
Yes.
Yes, that is appraised value. You get appraised value in a buyout.
Yeah, they kidding. So they tripled.
Fair market value.
Something doesn't smell right.
I mean, you would have never, no one would ever pay 300 grand with a house
No.
wrecked like that.
Where did they get in this number?
Oh, we had an independent appraisal done, Sergeant Appraisal. Try to buy a house in Plymouth for under 300,000 bucks.
Yeah, but that's outrageous. But anyway, as you say, it's a house, it should be appraised on what the state is now, not what it could go for. That's what an appraisal is for.
That's what they looked at comps.
But the place is a wreck.
Well, that's the idea. The idea is they buy you out when it's in good condition.
But they can't.
No, but that's the idea.
This is so illogical to me that you can get 3 times the amount of money you pay for a house, but it can't be built on. That lot's useless.
The idea is to like get it out, like get that homeowner. Like there's a house down here on the river. that is also on the radar, right? And they're talking about $300,000 for that because they're worried about it getting wiped out. So they'll pay you fair market value to get you out of one of those properties.
Fair market value means.
And that means before the property was destroyed.
Before
the flood.
But you don't know that. They appraised it after it's been
There are
ruined.
3 houses on Route 100 of similar size that originally went on the market for 500, now they're down around 400, because they still haven't sold.
Right.
The property, the real estate market's crashing. It's gonna
Yes,
crash.
but that was, the appraisal was done 4 months ago or 5 months ago before it really
I
started.
would challenge that off that. That's just not, there's something not right about that.
I know, it's a pretty standard procedure across the country.
Really?
Yeah. Federal funds administered by the state. If your house is destroyed, they give you the value before it was
Which
destroyed.
2019 value was 100 and some odd thousand.
Well, values have changed since 2019. 2023 values are way different.
Wow.
If she was sold on July 9th, 2023, she would have done 350. That's the theory.
Probably not that close to wherever that's the logical.
Just come with all the rocks.
That's part B. This coming week, we did have the site restored. That's part of the grant money to turn that into a green space.
They've had a excavator mobilized on that site twice, and it's been taken off.
Yes, removing rock, river rock.
How many acres?
Right, but they took the machine off.
Yep.
Okay,
How many acres is that piece?
it's less than one.
Less than one.
So you start.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
I use it.
That's nothing to do with that. It's real estate appraisal business. That's all.
It pays to be a state rep. In the Democratic Party, with the biggest grifter in the
What are
Senate.
you insinuating?
Well, I'm not insinuating anything.
She gonna break down taxes?
Vermont specializes in grifting federal funds. They're one of the biggest usurpers of federal money in the whole union. For a little state, the amount of federal money that this state, without federal money, the state would evaporate overnight. And that's what all the senators, all their underlings are all really good at, getting federal money to do stuff. Instead of, don't get me started on a rant, but, building things, making money, businesses and generating income, they go out and try and steal as much federal. And that's what, Bernie Sanders and Leahy, he's been in power more than, many more years than I've been alive before he retired. That was his greatest claim to fame. So, I'll go back to the meeting now.
We're gonna have a chance to go visit that though. Agenda item 9.
The Forest Service building on Route 4. Perfect.
That brings us to approving the budget for a Halloween party.
Yay! How much?
Good question.
Yeah, okay.
1.9 mil? No.
Big party, big bars for all the kids, yeah.
We can approve the buyout. I'll make a
We're gonna
motion
approve it?
to approve the $24,990 buyout.
Yeah, you guys got it.
All right, Halloween party. Angela, do you have a budget number for that?
I do not, because I will work in within what you give me, and I know Rick was so kind and offered to do up some prizes and stuff for the kids, donate. And Bethany Burke is gonna donate all the pumpkins and what we need, and we got quite a few people who offered to do the trunk or treat, still looking for more.
What do you think you need? Any idea?
I mean, I would think 500 would be high. I don't think I need that much, but if we just have a max, I don't really know what I'm trying to do it by donation and stuff.
Approve up to?
Is that okay?
Yeah, you can do approve up to. I'll make a motion.
How much are we approving?
Up to 500?
Yeah, I make a motion, approve it.
Second.
Just children and loud there.
You can go, Mike. Where are you gonna be? You gotta wear a costume.
Nobody expected it till you're home.
An evil tax assessor.
Slippery.
All right. That moves us on to taxes.
Oh, here we
You're
go.
gonna love this. So, right, we've been hearing a lot about the unaffordability of taxes in our area by a lot of residents. I mean, I don't know, we saw a $250,000 home appraised at, right, and the tax bill's like $6,000 a year. That's not including the CLA. Assessments here are high, just because of the proximity to ski resorts. That's happening all over the state.
Assessments are low.
Well, assessments, right, but when you the actual property values are high, when you figure in the CLA, right? It means we're under-assessed. But we know our property values here, you know, the same $500,000 house here is $200,000 or $250 in Rutland, right? Like the properties are really high here, just because of the proximity to ski resorts. Does that seem reasonable to say?
I mean, they're gonna go up with the assessment, reassessment.
Plymouth's just as far from Killington as Rutland, so that doesn't make any sense. Don't
Well-
go for that argument. In Plymouth, how big is Rutland? How many? what's
So,
the-
well, you know what, we'll do a little research maybe for the next meeting. I'll bring 2 comparably sized houses with square footage.
Yeah, I think the thing that I questioned is that the press or the legislature says there was a 14% increase.
I agree.
And the actual increase to me was in the order of 30 to 35%.
You are correct.
And I think that is something that needs to be explained.
I wonder if the 14 was an average statewide.
Education.
I know
what.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna, so let me clear this up in the next, when I read Allison Clarkson's letter. And I wanted to add that Joe Revenue reminded me that at one time, Plymouth municipal taxes and school taxes were just about equal, right? And if that was the case, something has changed with the reformation of school taxes, right? If that was the case now, your tax bills would be 40% of what they once were. And, you know, and the problem is, right, I feel like our communities existed before these ski resorts and they still have a right to exist. And so I think we need some help. And I wrote Allison Clarkson, and this is her response. You know, and said, thanks for being in touch. Yes, this is going to be a brutal year. Plymouth taxes are expected to be up 36%. Bridgewater not quite clear on yet, and Woodstock up 30%. Completely unsustainable and brutal. For our towns, due in large measure to huge increase in our property values. I'm happy to discuss this further. Here's the email response I'm sending people who have written. It's long, but I hope it explains how we got here. Thanks for being in touch about this year's tax bill, the tax increase it contains. You are right, it's unsustainable. We are all frustrated by the confluence of education finance challenges which have resulted in such big increases in both spending and taxes this year. The question is how to ameliorate it. To answer your concern properly, it isn't a short email. I think it's important to map out how we got to this point. First, how the costs get set. Local education districts prepare school budgets, which local voters vote on at town meeting.
That letter was in the paper.
Oh, it was? I didn't save it?
Well,
It was
no.
in the Killington Times last week.
Okay, oh, okay.
Mount
All right.
Times.
Okay.
Yeah, I used it to start.
All right.
Yeah.
So I can save you the spare you then, but yeah, up 36%.
Mm.
Um,
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you,
okay.
I just was wondering if it was the same letter.
Okay.
It sounds like it was.
I missed seeing, I got
Should
this.
probably cut and paste, took some stuff from it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, go on, carry
Oh,
on.
yeah.
Carry on, carry on.
All right.
Carry on.
Second, why the bill costs have increased so much this year. They've increased for some time, but over the last 3 years, federal pandemic funding has helped us cover the increasing cost of education, thereby masking the impact of inflation on taxpayers. This year, some key cost drivers have challenged our schools as they created their budgets: a 16.4% in teachers' health care, the end of one-time federal COVID ESSER funds, overall inflation, mental health and social service needs, PCB cleanup, and the debt service on new capital projects or renovations. Without the federal funding, we are seeing the cumulative impact of cost increases in education. All these factors resulted in a big bill this year. And the increased bills what the legislature was sent and had to figure out how to pay. Third, how the bill gets paid. Funding the bill has traditionally been paid through property taxes. Because education's costs have increased, the state has had to devote additional revenues to cover the bill.
Yeah.
Sales tax, the lottery, and to buffer pressure on property taxes. In December, the tax department predicted that taxes would have to increase 20% to cover education costs. As a result, school boards went back to work trimming budgets and the legislature worked hard to lower tax impact. Not great, but with adding revenue of the 3% increase on short-term rentals and the cloud tax, the statewide increase was reduced to 13.8. Again, not great for any of us, but better than where we started. Fourth, additional things which impact local residential taxpayers are the school spending choices and increases in housing value. Many towns haven't experienced the impacts of COVID and climate refugees on real estate prices, but for a number, the escalation of their house value is having a big impact on their taxes. And I think that's what the CLA is, right?
Yep.
Common level of appraisal, we just get whacked by that here. Either way, whether we experience a CLA or the increase in appraisal, we're still going to be hit the same, right? Just as hard.
The gross will be the same.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Michelle was saying like over in Windsor, it went up an average like 40 to 60% values went up in their reassessment just recently. And like you're saying, I mean, I think there's such a flood of homes onto the market here now, as everybody that bought wrong and tried to be a landlord is now trying to get out. So the market's flooded with all these houses. They're trying to sell them for what they paid for them, but they're not going to get them. So they're just driving the market down. So that's putting some downward pressure on prices in that regard. I don't think people like the houses you're talking about on 100, they're going to, they're trying to get 5, but they're going to take 350 if they can. So if those sales start, the next year setting the comps, then that could help us out, as opposed to it's selling at 5. If it sells at 350, then that's not going to, when they do the reassessment here, maybe the values will not go up as much.
Well, you can tell from Allison's letter, she's not a budget person. She doesn't know it's but from her elbow.
No, half of the stuff in
She's
here.
talking out of it and trying to dance around and hoodwink everybody who doesn't understand these things. The education tax went up for a reason because, well, you look at multiple things here, right? People are leaving Vermont in droves. That means families, 20 to 40-year-olds, they're all leaving because they can't afford to raise their children here. They can't afford to raise their children here because they can't afford to buy a house. And you can't afford to buy a house because the legislature has done nothing about the education. Was it Act 260? What was the education bill?
Was it 40? I thought it was 46.
The most recent one's 46.
Whatever the original one. Is
Act
it
60.
60.
Act 60, thank you. It's a complete and utter failure, and none of them are owning up to it. This was the worst, and there's been other states that have tried to do this Act 260 thing, and it's failed in the courts. My take on this is I'm willing to take it to the Supreme Court. It'll get shot down. No doubt in my mind, because this is fiscally irresponsible taxes. And what do you say, and I know that it is, but this is something that we're going to bite back and vote Clarkson out of office. She needs to go. She doesn't care about us. And this other person is Beck White. She's just bad. They all care about these little climate change bills we got to deal with. But putting your priorities, you don't fix this tax bill, you're not going to have anybody to pay the taxes, and you're going to turn the state into a tourist state.
That's why we've raised this conversation.
I know.
It's already going in that direction.
The town should take a stance to send her a letter of condemnation.
In order to improve the budget. I think, to go along with what he says about not knowing about budget, I think one of the things here is that they use COVID funds for operating expenses, which to me, in my knowledge of municipal financing, is you do not take a grant that will end in a finite number of years and use it for operating, you use it for capital expenses.
They had $181 billion of that money left over last year, and the governor suggested infrastructure investment, and they overruled him twice on a veto to do that after-school program that was only partially funded. It was funded at 40% at $181 billion. Now that entire cost overrun hangs over the state, because how do we provide after-school care to everybody if we can't pay for it? Oh, well, bingo. So, and then this in here with the, the governor said it would raise our, so she led on the Hill. You can go on YouTube, go to any, she was the cheerleader to overturn that last veto where he said this is unsustainable when he stood up on the steps of the Capitol. There's no way I'm going to vote for this, I veto it. Vermont can't afford it. And then you can cut over to her going, we must overrule, he won't work with the supermajority. The supermajority overturned his veto 3 times. So
He
there,
does
And
work.
the other thing missing from our letter is there's not one mention of cutting costs. And
I know, you're right.
cutting costs in school is not a pleasant thing, and I've been through that with my own kids in Massachusetts. But if you don't do it, it's gonna be runaway inflation like this. There is waste in schools. There's waste in any, what's their budget, 30 million, whatever the budget is for school. Whenever you have that kind of a budget, there is waste. And if you were to take a 5% cut across the board, they'd survive, and the kids would still
go to a school board
colleges.
meeting and say that, you'll be pushed, go to one of the Windsor, the Central Union meetings and stand up and say that. You'll be asked to leave, literally, at the end of the meeting. You can't suggest anything like
That's
that.
nothing, also, it's not a transparent process.
I was on the board and I said, when they were discussing their holidays and whatever they got, and, they came up to me at the end and said, we don't talk, we don't really ask those questions here. I'm like, well, I do. Have you, Act 46, the most recent one, Allison Clarkson and Dick McCormick, who's now retiring and leaving us all. They were the two primary sponsors of that. And that consolidated education in the state of Vermont and, put it in the hands of the teachers union, which is one of the biggest supporters of her. Look at the funds that come to Allison Clarkson from the teachers union. It's all now consolidated under that roof, under that umbrella, and they get, what does she mention here? 16.4% increase in teachers' health care. Well, yeah, that's the teachers union fighting for that. We need this, we need that. Those are the ones that kept the schools closed over, during COVID. They're the ones sucking all the money and, the bulletproof. There are 1,000 estimated kids in this district, and there's probably a little bit less than that. And we talked about the $100-something million school. So we're trying to educate, you're saying people are leaving. Yeah, they are. So we got 1,000 kids left in this whole district, and we're gonna, we can't even educate them for less than whatever, 30, 40 million bucks.
Yeah.
It doesn't even make any sense.
People leaving, but I will still bet that there's a supermajority on November 7th, or whatever, the day after the election.
Oh, there absolutely will be. There's no,
So nobody's voting these people out.
no.
Well, there's nobody running against them.
Oh, there, in the case of the senator, there is Andrea Murray. She's right down in Weathersfield. Very smart woman,
Put all
her
my money in-
ex-military, husband's a doctor, she was a doctor in the military, they're cost-cutting, conscious people, There's alternatives, you just gotta vote for.
That type of letter is an insult to anybody who's intelligent.
So let me just finish the last part of the letter, just to be fair. It says, no Vermonter can afford further tax increases. The legislature created the Commission on the Future of Vermont Education System to begin work this summer and fall. The commission is reviewing the challenges to our education system and is grappling with and hopefully proposing thoughtful solutions to them. We need this work to be done so that we can take informed action and are not in this position again next year. I hope this is helpful. If you have suggestions, please email them to me and I'll send them on to the commission for review.
She's the majority leader in the Senate, and she's saying other people have to take responsibility for solving the problem. She's in the top spot. So, with the salute, the buck stops somewhere.
I told us I had a call with her not too long ago. And I read it right now. And I called her out, you know what? She went speechless. I said, and I told her, Allison, you're a fraud. And you should be ashamed of yourself. You should not, you do not have the right to represent us in the state legislature. You've been lying to people, and you tell me it's the governor's fault? Well, you're acting like a spoiled little brat because you're not getting your way. Your job is to get along with people and come to an agreement in the middle, and you're not. And she didn't say a word. But I think my suggestion is you wrote a very strong letter back to her and said, we're condemning this, and go on record. Something's got to be done to start condemning these people for their actions. And I agree with you. I'm glad Dick McCormick's gone. Back in 2006, well, it was my first property in 2002. After I bought the house, my taxes were, $1,500 a year on this house. Mm-hmm. And we're in the middle of the woods and stuff. I thought that was too high, but I didn't say a word. Then they went up, and I sent Dick McCormick an email, and I still have it. You know what that said to me? I can do whatever the hell I want with your money. And I still have it. And I was going to put it in the paper, and I'm glad he's retiring, because I was going to call that person out and just say, you know what, you're nothing but a crook.
I'd like to see some press coverage around this, because I don't,
Absolutely.
I'd like to see Vermont Digger or somebody.
You won't see them because they're in Ohio. Vermont Daily Chronicle, they're the other, the other side of the coin, so to speak, if you're looking for an alternative. Vermont Digger's in the pocket of the supermajority. They're not gonna, they will never say a bad thing about any of these folks. I mean, you don't have to speak badly. They're not, we're not, this is not a personal attack.
We're just trying to solve
I
a
mean,
problem.
It's
This
just,
is about, you're destroying Vermont way of life. That's what it comes down to, because if you're not, now, I came up here with the intention of building multiple multi-families. There's no doubt about it. When I started buying things up here, I was like, good, I can buy some other, because I've been rental properties, and I thought it'd be a good thing, because the community needs it. But now I'm seeing this, and this is what I've talked to a lot of developers. They will not come to Vermont because they will not build a house that they can't sell because the real estate values are too high. And businesses will not bring businesses here because there's no win-win for them at all.
Frank, did you have something?
Yeah, I see a lot of second home owners in my short-term rental thing, and I would say almost everyone now that I meet asks me, why the taxes go up so high?
Yeah.
So this is something that ties into the whole issue of home ownership. These are people who pay taxes that use no services.
Right.
And if we lose that tax base, Plymouth, I mean, how many houses are in Plymouth, 1,300?
About less than that, about 2/3 of them is second home.
Yeah. Oh, 60-some-odd%. You don't want to lose that tax base.
Actually, somebody's gonna pay taxes on those houses. If they sell, somebody's gonna live in them, somebody's gonna pay taxes. Right now, we have an adequate tax base to cover our municipal taxes, That's just not going away. Yeah,
It was just interesting to hear you read the letter and have the response talk about increase in taxes is because of the CLA went up and the assessments went up. Those two have nothing to do with one another. It's the expense.
yes, agreed,
Reducing the expense.
agreed.
If you're just gonna bring your expense up, you're gonna bring your CLA up. I mean,
So she contradicts herself
It's
in that letter.
Yeah, we can talk about tax rates all we want, all that is a comparison among other
Correct.
areas, right? It's the money you're spending that's the problem.
That's
Thank
your point, Jay. You really, Plymouth should not be penalized. We're just as close to Killington and Aquino as Rutland. We shouldn't be penalized because of whatever. Rutland's got more shops, more industry. Their prices should be higher than ours. Logically, that's how it should work. I mean, it's like Boston. There's taxes in adjoining communities are much.
I mean, the folks coming up here from wherever to buy a second home and have the Vermont experience ain't moving to Rutland. Rutland's a working class town, and there's some nice homes over there on the west side, but it ain't.
They need to be fixed up too, but that's okay.
I mean, there's nice places over there,
They're small.
They're Vermonters that are living in them, that have businesses over that way or, whatever, but.
But Bridgewater's closer to Killington than we are.
So what I want to say next is not a solution. What I do want to remind Plymouth residents, if Plymouth, your primary home is here, if your household income is under $90,000, you're eligible for up to $6,300 in credit. If your income is over $90,000, you're eligible for $3,400 in credit. There's even a workaround if you don't have a social security number, apparently. I went on to vermonttax.gov, checked it out. I just want to make sure people in this town are utilizing that,
I don't think
right?
they are.
I want to get the word
But
out.
the homestead tax break?
Yes,
I mean, you should. I mean, how could you not?
I think there's people that aren't.
It's the only benefit
You'd
that
be
you got.
surprised, Keith, how many people don't know about it.
Really?
We just had 4 come in, 4 or 3. With the abatement, they never filled out the charge form.
HS 122, they didn't fill it out?
I mean, I'd almost like I'd like to make a motion that we put a public service announcement in the paper and have somebody here to help people fill out those forms if they need help.
Yeah, and make a big poster and I'll put it down at the store.
And they just need to know, but it's gotta be their primary home.
Yes. That's-
Yeah, you gotta be homesteading here in Vermont.
Yeah, which is
A lot of people still don't understand that as a primary resident, you pay more taxes than non-residents
Yes.
do. That's a lot of people are.
But I'm happy to put it down there because a lot of people,
You've got till October 1st to file it with a small penalty. It's like $15 or whatever, but you still can file right now. I mean, yeah, it's a no-brainer. It saves you a lot of tax.
And maybe when we send out our next tax bills, I think we have some announcements about our ordinances, and maybe we put just a blurb on there and say, hey, if you're, I mean, just to get people.
It's been a multi-step process recently, because people went and filed, because they came and asked about the form, Beckham or Cherry or whoever was in the office handed it to them. So then they got a revised amount. They have a new tax bill that came and they got increased quite a bit because they went from non-homestead to homestead. So then we got another notification that these people did get their, I call it property tax pre-bate, but their thing, so then their tax bill went down again. So it would be, 2-3 step process for people to understand if they're gonna get one, they're gonna get the high bill first, higher bill. If they make it, if they're filing non-homestead, then go to homestead. Because some people don't, a bunch of them who don't file that HS 122 form, they're not clicking primary resident
Okay.
on it, so it's showing as non-homestead. Not everybody is that situation, but.
And if you claim that as your residence and you're even there like just more than half the year, you're eligible. You could be a snowbird going to Florida, still qualify.
183 days.
Is that 3?
183.
183. Why is she not already?
Yeah, Florida. A few more years.
It's an interesting subject, I know. I hope if you live
You
in Florida.
got 8 years. Let's see, that's 18.
So,
Yeah, we're not gonna solve a problem tonight, but it's, election season's kind of election day's coming.
well, this is, conversation has to start, and people have got to start thinking before election day that you guys gotta know this. And that letter is full of lies, lies. Shouldn't know what you're talking about. And I just sick of politicians who try to just dance the way around things and lie through their life. And it's sickening. You know, does she think all her constituents or people who just don't know take what she says or what? Yes, I'm saying this, believe me. I'm like, no, those days are over. Those days are over.
I know we can talk about this for a while, but any more discussion on that? I think we've got a couple action items. Will the select board, if we get interest, support helping people fill out those forms?
Yeah, and I like the idea of being proactive and sending information out with your tax bills on ordinances and
Okay.
various things like that. That's a good idea. I like that. Who's gonna do that? Who would be the person?
When we put it out with the tax bill?
No. Helping out, fill out forms.
I think we might be able to find a volunteer or even somebody hourly that wanted to help with that. It might be, some people may be comfortable coming here for like a group thing, others may not, so maybe it's like we could make an appointment, maybe we can reach out, find a volunteer or somebody we could pay. I don't think it'd take that many hours.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't either.
I don't think you have a huge response, I'd be glad to help.
Yeah, I'd help too.
Do
That
like,
type of stuff, I like going.
like not one night, but I say training, because there's the forms but a lot of people file their taxes online too, so they need to do it
Okay.
simultaneously with that, because they come and get the paper form from us, only because they did not file it in
Okay.
H&R Block themselves, but
Okay.
that aside, we can do a one-night or two-night thing, and somebody go through each page with people here at tables and do it all together or something.
Okay.
Good idea.
Mike and Rick sound like they're willing, and so, and if it went beyond that, we could think about recruiting others, but it'd be really nice to see this town participate.
Good.
That brings us to short-term rentals. I'm Frank, glad you're here this evening for that. So I wanted to revisit our fees for non-residents. And just everybody know we appreciate our second homeowners, but I think taxes have You know, we've talked about taxes, and I think we could use some short-term rental income to potentially offset the revenue that we need. I just looked, for example, to see what was going on around us. We charge $200 for the unit and $100 for each additional, is that right? So for a 2-bedroom, that's $400. And just for comparison, I think in Woodstock, that's about $4,000. So they're charging a $3,000 base for the unit plus $250 per occupant. It seems expensive, but I think they're somewhere in between.
You also have to look at what you would rent, let's say a 2-bedroom here for,
Yes.
let's argument's sake, 1,000. Woodstock it would go for 4,000 because of where it is. So you have to look at the premier, as much as I just don't like Woodstock.
Right.
But still, it's viewed by people who rent, oh, we're gonna stay in Woodstock.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna stay in Plymouth, oh, we're gonna stay in Plymouth. Which I disagree with, but I'm just, that's,
Okay.
and rentals have that mentality when you.
Yes,
have brand.
yes, agreed. You probably, the per night cost is a lot lower in Plymouth.
And it is, to offset that, what I would suggest is you get rid of the lockbox requirement.
We tried that.
You can still, you can do it again, because there's been certain changes, but.
Good.
Please.
Well, first of all, the last box, to me, as much as I oppose it, and I think it adds an undue burden for no benefit, everybody has one now,
Okay.
and there's nothing to be gained by turning down that requirement. I look at the fees, I agree with you, they probably are on the low side. My only caveat to this is that we are still in what I call the marketing phase of this program, where we're trying to bring people in. And marketing might sound like a funny term, but it is a little bit of a sell job to get people in. We could bludgeon them, and we will bludgeon some people, but there are people that we have to get into the system, and by making it too expensive, you're just making them resist harder. Now, right now we're probably 60% there.
How many units do we
I
have?
think we have 60, I don't know if we're up to 70, but we're in the 65 to 70 range. Estimates of how many are in Plymouth range from 100 to maybe 125. So we probably have 2/3.
Let's just,
Which is very good, I think, but
that means
still, the other
amazing
people,
work.
the last, was it the 80-20 rule? The last 20% are hard to reel in, and we're doing what we can. That's the only thing I don't have any opposition to raising the rates.
Okay. So
It would be nice to have Plymouth people pay less, but
I think,
that's not the interest of the
I think that's something we can talk about. I think we could keep it where it is for them, and I think because I don't think there's that many folks living in Plymouth that do
I
STRs.
think there are 5 or 6 Plymouth residents full-time,
Okay.
and the other 60 are out of the state.
Okay. So, I'm just thinking, if we have over 100, say we have 120, and we were charging maybe 1,500, I mean, that would offset Plymouth taxes, the Plymouth taxes for taxpayers by at least 10, 12%.
But you're talking a year or just?
Year, yeah.
That's a lot.
Like I said, they're getting $4,000 at Woodstock. I mean, we'd have to do a little more research, I think, to see.
Yeah, and you have to look at how often are these places are being rented.
And we're right between Killington and Okemo. It's pretty good.
They're not being rented as often as
The
Woodstock.
rental here this summer has been very slow.
Yes, everywhere.
And usually the rentals are from farmer wilderness parents.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened, but it is very price sensitive. I know people who are getting in the low 100s are doing very well, but anything above that is slow. I've seen that. Wintertime is not enough housing stock in the area. You can probably charge whatever you want. But
The weekend
Killington
Christmas-
might get 5,000 a weekend for a place.
You get the weekend Christmas, you get 20 grand in some of these places, right?
But Plymouth doesn't have that. You just don't, the houses aren't that big.
Yeah.
I think the biggest we have, we might have a couple of 6 bedrooms, but most of them don't work.
It would be helpful for us to look at the week of Christmas, for example, see what, how many units are available, what the rates go.
Christmas is, they're 100%. And every weekend in the winter is probably 90%, and Martin Luther King and winter break are 100%. I know in our case, we have a mobile home, and the place is rented every weekend from Thanksgiving to Easter. So the winter is where the money is made. Foliage helps a little, but this year seems to be a little slower.
You notice that really Plymouth doesn't have, again, all the bars and the shops that all these other places have, which is an attraction. Because if you rent a place, I mean, we got the market now.
Yeah.
So people can get food and drink and stuff, which is, you see, yeah, I see them all the time. But still, the reason they do get more money in Killington or Ludlow is because.
You're on the mountain.
And all the bars and taverns are there. The nightlife, that's non-existent. So that's where you're gonna look at what, you know, if you're gonna up those fees,
Yeah.
make sure you don't pay up because the landlord can say, screw it, I'm not doing it, and just leave the payment. And then they're not gonna pay you.
Frank, I had an idea sitting here now. I haven't thought this through, and I'm sure there are pros and cons to it. But I had this idea, what if we were to suppose we wanted to get a $1,500 increase in fees. And in an effort to entice the people who haven't signed up, come up with some kind of a discount for the first year. I mean, but on the other hand, maybe that's not fair to the people who are paying it. It's just an idea. Is there a way to discount it or give a?
There could be. I think incentives might work. I mean,
I don't know how to structure
it's
that.
carrot and a stick approach.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I try to be, in a lot of cases, the person has shown an interest, has actually filled in the registration form, but they may not be totally compliant. I have a little more flexibility with people who you know are in the program or want to be in the program than the people who don't even answer their letters.
Yeah.
So I try to be flexible with people and.
Frank, we now have a number with the Judicial Bureau, and you have your own number as well. We can get you set up with ordinance enforcement.
Oh, good. Okay.
Brush off the press.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's something to think about. I mean, I don't know how to structure that or how to make it fair to everybody, but.
That can work. It's something.
Sorry.
Can I make a comment as a non-voter?
Yep.
Yeah.
But as a short-term rental, I'm only in summertime short-term renting. I mean, I've raised the issue in the past about whether there would be partial year registration, and I'm understanding that might bring some administrative extra work. But what I'm hearing is, we've got a tax, we have a budget issue, so we're gonna go after one very small segment of the population. I'm just understanding that there's a whole range of other segments that could be taxed. The state, in its own wisdom this past year, has decided to add another 2.5%, 3% on top of what we've got to collect from our visitors.
Yep.
I had to take it out of my pocket because they imposed it the 1st of August, and we collected rents beforehand. And so they're saying anything after that, you had to add 3% to it. It just doesn't make sense for somebody sitting back saying, why are we taking this one segment and not spreading that on other people? How about wedding groups that come to town? Why don't we charge an extra percent on a group that has a wedding in town? I'm trying to pull something out of the air that's ludicrous to think about. It just doesn't seem to be a rationale from the statement that says, if we charge these 60 people another $1,500, now we can balance our budget. We were just talking prior about having a budget problem, and we're spreading it down around all Vermonters. Why not look at the spending issue?
Well, I think the town runs a relatively tight budget. We're talking about the town budget.
I understand that, but even if it's a nickel,
Yep.
to simply say we ought to lay that on 60 people as opposed to
Yep.
1,300.
Right, yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think that there's, if and when this program is able to encapsulate all STR people, it's unfair to increase the fees on the 60 people that have done the right thing and are in it.
Yeah.
And I would think that given where the economy is headed and where the market seems to be, that you're gonna have a little bit more hassle than you have had trying to get people to come on board. Because what incentive is there to come on board and give more money to the town, you know, if it's hard to get people to rent?
Well, I think what you're saying is correct, because one of the flaws I think Woodstock is going to have is that people, they have a limited number of permits, they say, which
we know.
is absurd, because people are just not going to get a permit and they're going to rent anyway. And
Well, you know, you can remedy that as an administrator by a $100 a day fine. That's
you have
36.
to find them.
You do, and I think you've done a good job
Well,
of
maybe-
identifying.
Maybe Woodstock has a full-time person who can do that.
Woodstock's a different animal too. I mean, the hotel lobby, they have what we don't have, a whole bunch of hotels banded together and forced that through at the
But it makes
level
no
that they
sense to
did.
limit it. You
Because
don't really limit it.
the Airbnb people were taking their business, so they just smacked them down with a big hammer. You know, we don't have that problem here, and, you know, so, I don't, it's not, we can't really compare ourselves to Woodstock either.
To respond to your comments, sir, let's not forget, short-term rental is a business, and business are supposed to be profitable. The rest of the people in town who go to work every day and get their paycheck and come home and pay their rent and pay their bills and buy their groceries, that's not a business. They're trying to raise a family. Short-term rental is a business, it's a commercial operation. That's the difference.
But you gotta be careful, Rick, too, and I agree, maybe you should increase the fees a little bit, but nothing astronomical. You don't wanna start angering these people, because then they're gonna just withdraw it and rent it anyway, and if you can find them as much as you want, you'll never get your money, because
Oh, no, that's not true. You will get your money.
and you'll end up in court. Because
So be
this,
it.
I'm a landlord,
Mhm.
there's a lot of pull behind those groups. And you don't want Plymouth to get a reputation they're doing this either, because then people are just gonna.
The ones that
stop.
haven't registered are not part of that group.
I'm just saying, Jay,
Yeah.
there's a lot of little intricacies involved in this. And like I said, I've been doing rentals for 35 years. You know, the ins and outs. Boston passed a law where they were supposed to have, tell people they had to register units for inspections. 85% of the landlords flip the bird out. Guess what? They can't do a damn thing. You can't enforce it, and if they go to court, it's gonna be too damn expensive. So that program failed. They have an inspectional services part, and this is kind of like the short-term rental thing in my mind. Listen, you know, it's, people have those, it's their right, tenants have rights to do this and that, and they can complain about things. And if you have an inspectional services department, their job is to go in and inspect units. You don't need to register these units for whatever reason. It's just a backdoor way of raising taxes. That's all this comes down to. So just a caution to the wind. It's like, just be careful here, because if you start angering people, Plymouth's going to get a reputation, and then it's just going to drive more business out of the town. It's tough.
Frank's wins it.
Huh?
Frank's wins it, throws out your knee.
You know, it's
Well, I
it's a
think-
balancing act.
They are businesses. I mean,
Some of them.
But I think of the businesses when you have a speculator who goes in and buys a house and uses it only as a rental property. And those houses are in Woodstock and Killington. Very few in Plymouth. To me, the typical person that I've met is the person from New York, Mass, who wants a ski home. They like the Vermont lifestyle, and maybe they'll even retire here in 20, 30 years. But for now, they have to pay the taxes, they have to pay the fuel oil or the propane, and there's a lot of expenses that go into owning, and the mortgage we're going into, and all they're trying to do is to maybe pick up $10,000, $15,000 a year to defray those property taxes, fuel bills, and whatever expenses there are. And they're just, they're working people. Okay, maybe they're working doctors or lawyers, but they're still working people, and they're just trying to help out to make their Vermont vacation experience a little more affordable, or maybe a little more pleasant. As far as the speculators, I know there are a few of them out there. To me, the numbers don't add up, but I think I know something about real estate. But anyway, these guys are probably smarter than me. But you're not seeing that here as much as you're seeing it in Killington.
So I think what I just like to see is a modest, reasonable rate increase. And I'd like to see some, like, increase of getting people into that program. whether that's the carrot or the stick,
Mhm.
you know? Yeah,
Yeah.
Dick, I agree with you, it is a business, and certainly we pay business taxes on that, and run it as a business to get registered. But there are a number of other businesses that are operating in Plymouth as well. The plumbers, the electricians that I hire, the cleaning staff I hire, the loggers that come in and take lumber off them. So those are businesses as well, and there's no surtax, extra registration for those folks. I would hope it doesn't go there. When you go into some of the, I go to Florida at times, and you can't even get someone to come hang a screen door if they aren't registered with the town and pay the county fees and have a, registration. I think that's over the top. But
It's a good
there are
point.
other businesses that, people are in business to make money. Then they come home and then they raise a family. So there's a bit of a mix there, I think.
Okay.
The purpose of buying real estate, you have to make money. It's the bottom line. You don't buy a piece of property not to make money.
well, some people buy one to raise their family in and
Well,
live.
that's, and you gotta look at both sides.
And that's pretty tough here.
Leave your kids something, an inheritance, which is something of value, because if you tie it up in real estate, taxes are less, inheritance taxes and all that fun stuff. There's a lot of moving pieces with this stuff, but I mean, what is it, $300 a year?
It's 200 plus 100 for a bedroom. Probably averages about 500 or 600 per person.
See, that's about where I think it should be.
So if we have 60 times, what are you saying, 500 is $30,000.
It's a lot of money.
I'd like to see about $1,200 a unit on average, and that's like a third of what Woodstock's doing, for example. I'd like to see about $1,200 a unit on average. I think that would be,
And that would get you up over $100,000 in annual income.
If they rent it out, or if they decide to pull it out of the program and just do it on the slide. Which, because then they're gonna have to raise their rents, and that means, you don't realize, if you do that, they're gonna raise their rents. That's just the way that real estate works. When my taxes go up, I raise my rents. I don't raise my rents to make more money, I raise rents to keep.
cover costs.
But if you do that,
I don't think $1,000 is a big burden, on the second home.
you don't know that. You don't know their situation, Jay. That type of leap of faith is not, I would disagree with that.
Oh, $1,000
Was there ever
every
any
fuel tank.
consideration in all of the
Tank of
discussions of the committee
So
of
there's a
taking
tank
a
of fuel,
percentage of income?
and then you got
And it begins to speak to you saying 1,200 is not a lot, but if you take in 10,000 a year, 1,200 is a lot.
And they're going to have to increase that to keep their margin. Because that's just the way the game's played.
What if you can even increase it? I mean, it's not like people that are coming up to rent are not gonna be able to.
Go out to dinner,
Well, if you're coming to rent a place, you paid $1,000 for it this year, next year it's, $1,700. So you've got the $700 was your going out to dinner and stuff. So now they're not gonna come, or they're not gonna go out to dinner.
They're gonna go
I mean,
somewhere
something's
else.
gotta give. Everybody's not suddenly making all sorts of money, not in this
They'll go
economy.
somewhere else. They won't come to you. And you want to attract people.
Well, and ultimately, I mean, if you're,
But raising that type of thing, which the land, property owners will raise their rentals right off the bat.
I think people come to Plymouth because their first choice is Okemo or Killington. They see the price, and then they say, okay, let's try a nearby community, and then they find Plymouth, places look nice, they're more rural, and they have the price.
For that, but if you increase the stuff, they're not gonna be that price anymore, right?
Well, we're not talking that kind of a drastic price change. We're talking maybe 10, it's like 10% of the rental cost.
Still a lot, that's a lot of money to a landlord.
There was none before short-term rentals really came into play, so.
It's still, it's,
I guess I can defend your position by saying if you have 30 people a year, and it's $1,000, that's, what is that? That's $30 a person for a weekend or whatever, $15 a night. So,
How do we move forward on this?
I do think we need some research, like,
Okay.
I'm bringing up just information. I'm not proposing anything concrete, but I would like
No, it's a
to.
good start,
Yeah.
good start in the conversation.
Could we table the discussion to maybe 6 months from now to see how our, if we're up to
How about 10
numbers?
How about 10 years from now?
5-year exploratory committee, do it like the legislature.
Yeah, I'd wait, because let's see what the real estate market's gonna be, because that's gonna play into the.
I'd like to revisit in a month. Just give us a little bit of time to maybe, hey, what are, you know, can we get a vacancy rate for Plymouth? I mean, I don't know what kind of stats are available. You're in this all the time, Frank. Is there data that you can mine for us?
That's hard to do. Some of these companies that want to manage our programs say they can do that. I don't know whether that's true or not, whether it's meaningful data.
Wasn't there some software proposed that was gonna, it mines the online database, you know, Airbnb and everything, to see who's.
They can give you all that information.
But you can't require somebody to tell you when they're renting it.
Well, this software doesn't.
Someone finds it.
If I'm a landlord and I'm renting my stuff out, I pay my fee, it's no business of yours when I rent
But
it.
these are
Well, they-
done online, and you can actually see the occupancy.
It's like aggregate, it goes online and, you know, sniffs out all the Airbnb listings and all that. So if you're on there, they'll see your listing, and if
I
you're.
do online rentals in Boston privately, I don't hire because I don't want to be tracked like that. Some of the business.
I'm smart, I'm just saying, that's what, this stuff that, oh, what was it? It was Natasha, right, that proposed it? Yeah, so, if you're doing that, then you can find more people, but we have to buy the software, right? Wasn't it expensive?
Yeah, I think it was.
We'll probably get something to you by November, I think.
That's reasonable. Thank you. Give us something to talk about.
It could be in the 10,000 a year range. Of course, you could always use some extra fees to pay that. You made that.
10,000
Now you sound like Allison.
A year, 10,000?
Yeah.
That's the cost? Oh, I thought it was a one-time cost.
No.
Oh, no, it's-
Woodstock is paying 26,000 a year.
No software is one
Today's
time.
software.
It's a software as a service, so you have to pay it. You have to pay an agreement every year.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Then you gotta be taking in that, all that money.
That's what, you're gonna have to increase
Here
your
we
rate.
go.
So then you raise the fees.
Wow.
I'm trying to back you up.
That's fine, I appreciate it.
Too many facts here.
All right, I agree with Rick.
Table it for a month.
I like your idea, Frank.
Very good.
Sounds good.
Push it out 6
I
months.
like that.
So,
Chair is gonna update us on some taxes, but is she not on? She's,
no, she
Okay.
said she was
Jay,
gonna
it's on.
try.
right, okay.
There's a FEMA one.
We do have an update on amounts received from FEMA.
Jay,
Yeah,
that she said, you need education and research services. With the on this, the increase, she just wanted people to be aware.
Because I haven't rented since March, but this 3% fee, I thought.
Okay.
should be corrected in
I'm not, I might have just shuffled these somewhere.
It's not this one, it's this other one.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
There it is.
So total education tax dollars sent to the school district by Plymouth is 1.6 million, $1,612,100.
That's the increase.
That's the increase?
That's
Okay.
insane.
Oh, yeah.
That's insane.
What's the total amount last year?
5,393,858 for this year.
That we sent to, how many students do we have?
It's about 1,000. Not us, Plymouth, there's 1,000 in the district, which is 7 towns.
How many students in town? Are you?
70 estimated.
70 in Plymouth?
Estimated people.
Wow.
To me, it's a currency issue because.
In Plymouth?
I didn't think we had that many kids. That's
I
great.
didn't either.
7 estimated, right?
Holy cow.
It's not real people. I mean, yes, it is kind of, but that's their estimated. That's what the formula they use, yeah.
How much is that a child?
Involved in this?
Huh?
How many?
7.
7.
I was thinking,
If somebody came in and asked
And we voted, I didn't, but the town voted to join Act 46 in 20, what was it, 18?
That was before that.
Not Act 46, no.
I did both, I think, it's crazy.
Because they told people it would keep taxes low.
Yeah, there was a
That the-
carrot
And look where we are.
That was gonna save us all this kind of money. That was gonna be great.
I'm not gonna go up on this.
Wow.
Oh, we talked about this before at other meetings that you haven't been at. The town can vote to withdraw from Act 46, and it has to be approved by the other member towns. But it's happened 3 or 4 times now in southern Vermont.
Then we used to have kids.
Then we talked about.
You go back to having school choice.
Yep, school choice. That's what
Or you could open your own school back up, if you have a school, like whatever. Pick a town with a school, if you withdrew, I think it was, it's the town down there near Jamaica, they withdrew. Around Stowe area, it was big, a few different towns voted to withdraw and it was approved, and they just went back to having their own schools.
What about the school choices that they did? Is that was, you know, dissent.
Like, theoretically send them wherever you want it, wherever you choose, quote unquote.
Let's see, FEMA reimbursement, Cherry's got on our list. We had $1,948,767 in damage claimed. The federal share was $1,475,000. And to date, we've been reimbursed $486,000, so about a third. Next on our agenda, is, unless there's any questions about that, FEMA reimbursement, review and possibly approve deposit vault, curbside locking parcel mailbox. Angela, is this something you think, can you tell us a little bit about that? Is that?
Well, I know there's times we have a mailbox that was out here, that's on the other side of the parking lot while renovations take place, but it's not secure, it's not safe. People want to put tax payments or drop things in after hours, or if somebody wanted to drop off a ballot. So we just wanted to have a discussion about putting something secure out there so you can't walk away with it, can't open.
Why don't you just put one of those through the wall, things they open and dump, like UPS or something?
Well, and again, I don't know what the thoughts are with our new siding, if. that's
Yeah,
something-
we actually had one in our original design, and we pulled it out, Rick, based on the architect's recommendation because of heat loss and air infiltration.
Don't they make them, Rick, though, that you can, it's like a box that's enclosed on the inside too, but you can pull down the thing, throw it in, and then somebody opens it with a key on the other side in the morning.
Yes.
So that keeps the heat loss. I mean, you can insulate it too.
Yeah.
So, but you could do
No, I'm
something
just-
like that.
Telling what the architect recommended, that would be a heat loss.
At this point, I mean, the pricing that you've come up with doesn't seem unreasonable compared to cutting a hole in the building.
Yeah, and like I said, there's different ones out there, and of all prices, there's more expensive ones, there's cheaper ones. I just think it's something we should have for,
You can put packages in it from UPS there.
there's like,
FedEx.
there's different, yes, there's ones that are little, as far as people dropping off, you mean for us?
No
Or,
material coming from town hall.
yes, they can be, there's different ones that have a bigger box, that bigger things can be put in. It's how much we want to spend and what we're looking to utilize it for.
Can you move the mail, could you put a UPS box in a US mail box?
I don't know, they're pretty specific, UPS with their things. I just think we should have a service for people to be able to do that. I mean, we're not open on Fridays, which is fine, and people come up on weekends and stuff, and, or after hours.
The
This is for people to drop their tax payments?
You can drop tax payments in or ballots.
Okay. So one of them's $1,000, $999, and the other one's $499.
And again, you could, you know, feel free that those are just a couple that I found. Don't
Okay.
feel like you have to vote on, approve one of those if
Yeah.
you want to do more research, but I think it'd be nice to have something in the near future.
And this definitely would provide a nice service to people, I guess, so they didn't. And it may, if people drop a check, I mean, that kind of, they don't have to pay credit card fees, or we don't pay credit card fees now, right? We give them a surcharge, so this gives them the option of saving the was it 2.5%?
2.7, I think it is, but like our tax bill this year, we printed, when we printed them, we put September 2nd, because we knew the 1st was a Sunday, but we didn't pick up that the 2nd was Labor Day.
Okay.
So Sherry came in that day or certain days so people could make their payments because of the date on the tax bill, which was our, I won't say error, but if we had this box, something like that, you know, people could have just dropped them off.
Yeah, that helped, because I did it.
Yeah.
She was fair, because the taxes were due on Sunday. Monday was Labor Day, so the taxes, I should have been due on Tuesday. But that was not on the tax bill.
And it was, yeah, when we
But she was here, which was great.
So we're paying somebody potentially to be here twice a year to collect taxes at minimum, right? So,
we'll be more conscious of that when we
Well,
do the bills.
yeah, it's, I mean, that seems like a very reasonable investment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd make a motion to spend up to $999. We can install it ourselves, right?
Yeah, we can.
Just find the one that's.
I'll pour a base and get it mounted.
Okay.
I'd second that.
You got this one, Keith?
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I mean, you can, I was telling Rick that Home Depot has actually,
Oh.
carries different brand.
They do.
It's made out in Indiana, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Expect, you know, more pricier than that, but I know, I have one, I know it's good.
Okay.
I can vouch for it.
Easy to use?
Yeah, it's made well,
Okay.
it's direct shipped from the manufacturer.
Review and possibly approve purchase of desktop monitor for public access at municipal office. So can you tell us a little bit just about that?
Well, and not that I feel we should have everything every other municipality has, you know, but we do have people come in here and they try to log on to the internet with their phones and try to use the phone, and they use our guest services, so as far as the internet. And I know other municipalities have like a stand-up, I wouldn't do a laptop because somebody could walk off with it, but if we had, doesn't have to be the most expensive, desktop and computer where if somebody wanted to come in and, you know, look at blister cards without, you know, us grabbing them, or look at the deeds online and that kind of thing. I think it would allow people to access some of our online stuff without having us do it for them. But if somebody, I don't know, we've had a few people lately request something, and so Sherry or I would pull it up just to help them out if we had that computer and have it.
Oh, you're talking about a public computer?
Yes,
Ah.
public. Yep,
Like at the library.
yes,
The biggest problem with that is our network isn't secured.
we are working on that. And-
I think we probably put them on the guest network.
Correct.
It's still connected to the same wires to the same server.
Yeah.
If you get around the security issue, I think it's a great idea.
Oh, yeah.
And
People to look up,
It's not big money either. You just need a simple.
a little kiosk.
Yep.
Get one on Black Friday for like $300.
Yeah. Lock it down so nobody walk away with it.
Yeah, yeah. And we thought we'd put it maybe over in the corner, you know, by somewhere where we can see a table, put it on, and,
You could actually get a tower too, just with a monitor.
yeah.
Should be better than a laptop.
Yeah, I wasn't going laptop, we were doing tower with monitor.
That's a great idea.
They want to look at Chloe's menu online. Do it online.
hope they're not gonna do that.
Did you want to make a donation?
Sounds like it'd free up time.
I think you'd be a combination
Yeah,
of that.
that's a
and-
plus.
Sponsored by Chloe's.
It's it's a convenience.
Sounds like we got it.
Yeah, now look
Way to
at
fund the
it.
computer.
Let me know how much it is, I could probably look at donating it.
And you can block sites, certain sites and things too, I'm sure, like we talked
Okay.
about with that tech company, so.
Okay. So that's something that we didn't get on the agenda, but we should for the next select board meeting. Angela and I had a consult with the tech company, talked about ditching the server, no more box top Microsoft Office licenses, central management, antivirus malware, what else? Support.
From where would they be added to people?
They are not, and I know about them because I use them at work. They're about a third of the price of our former IT provider, and they've done a good job. But they're a nonprofit themselves out of Pennsylvania. So they don't come and do hardware stuff, and they don't sell you hardware stuff. But it's basically, I have they dial in your computer if you have a problem. They can troubleshoot printers just by, accessing. You get an agent called Kaseya, I think you download it, and when you open that up, it allows them to connect via IP address, and they can go in and actually, it's like they're on your computer.
Yeah, they're sharing your desktop with them?
Yep.
And they have policies and procedures, and I say risk assessments and a SOC, reports that they do to make sure they're doing their internal controls too for safety and security. So it's stuff they can provide to us, which we don't have any of that now.
We have nothing, right? Totally open to the world. We have
We've done some
basic
things
whatever
like
on
that.
our computers, right?
We've done things internally, we do control and log in and stuff, so we've done some things internally. For us internally, but not others.
We're hackable, right? Our records and stuff?
Probably everybody's hackable, if that's a fair statement, anybody can hack.
We had somebody with a Microsoft Business Premium license last 2 weeks ago with multi-factor authentication through their phone get hacked. I don't know how that. But if I look at my Microsoft email address, I can see they try hacking it at least 800,000 times a day.
Really?
Yeah.
They hacked the IRS, they hacked the phone company.
All the time. I get every single day I can pull up my report. And somebody in another country sitting there just chiseling away, trying to hack into my Microsoft account. It's insane. I mean, there's nothing that interesting in it,
It's like chapter numbers and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just want to mine it for all of
It's
that.
like, what do they want, like last year's Act 250 permit, I mean, that's kind of like what's in there. Junk. But
Secure emails too, secure emails that people send stuff to us on the tax side. You can set that way too.
I can give you, I can pull that up if you're interested in discussing it now, if you want to put it on the next agenda. I'll give you a rundown. We can discuss it further if we want at the next one.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
So it's a service we would like to subscribe monthly fee kind of deal?
Yeah.
Would they take over email administration then? How would we, it wouldn't be the Google Workspace anymore, it would be something different?
Yeah, it'd be something, it'd be Outlook, Microsoft Outlook, and then,
So you'd have to have a Microsoft system to run the email?
no, it's all web-based, right? So we would have a Microsoft Business account, and then everybody would have Outlook, Excel, Word, Teams if they wanted to use them.
Web-based, cloud-based?
Cloud-based. That's where the security's good, supposedly.
So to access the town email, then you could log on into a web-based Outlook account?
Yep, so just like you do with Gmail. The difference is, with Microsoft, you own your data. With Google and Gmail, they own your data. I don't know, it's like, it doesn't seem like it's been a problem, but it is something, I guess, to consider. So when we asked, I'll work on generating proposals for managed IT support as well as migration project migration to 365 with multi-factor authentication. I also asked them to check the DKIM and DMARC stuff for our email to make sure it doesn't get blocked. That's a new requirement with a lot of these email providers, otherwise your emails don't get through. And then Microsoft Office Suite for users, email, and then work on a plan for migrating your server to Entra 365 and SharePoint. SharePoint's like the backbone for Microsoft, which Teams is just like, and Outlook are just sort of, all the like apps that Microsoft have are like, they're just like different portals for the SharePoint. So SharePoint's like just a web, if you will. And then there's also other projects that they could take on outside of regular support. Let's see. I don't know if we got a price from her, Angela?
No.
Oh, we did. Okay. Managed IT support. It's not cheap. $835 a month. Email migration to Google. From Google to Microsoft as an add-on for just a one-time thing. It's like a little project. $1197. My multi-factor authentication in Defender for 365 is $1120, and then the DMARC DKIM update is $435. So that's $2,700 one-time fee.
That was my question. They're going to migrate current Google Office to.
Office 365.
They'll migrate all the, I guess maybe a certain amount of emails over, or the whole spectrum.
All the emails would, but what I'm not seeing on here, and there'll be another fee for that, is to migrate what's on the server to Office 365 or SharePoint.
Yeah, Google Workspace to Microsoft Office. What was that fee? $1,100 or something? One-time migration?
So 2,752 for those things, but that does not include the server.
So we'd keep our previous emails, in other words. We wouldn't lose whatever.
Right.
Our email, say every.
Correct.
Inboxes with everything in it, okay.
Just be a different host. Domain would be the domain would change, I guess.
Yeah, it would have to, right? If they're doing it and it's seamless, it don't matter. Whatever they make it,
So do you want time to think about this more, talk about it more? Visit it at the next meeting?
As opposed to what?
I don't know if we want to mull it over more. I mean, we could try to find somebody else to give us a price on it too. We haven't done that yet.
What would that look like? Could it be anyone from any state or anywhere? Or?
Well, this stuff is done remotely now. So, I mean, that's how we've done ours. When we used to use a company out of Burlington, which I said was 2 to 3 times as much. They would come down, do a site visit. It didn't, the level of service it didn't really amount to a whole lot. They just had pictures of all of their stuff. We have like 8 locations, there's only 1 here. So far, these guys have been good. They have like people who are, have come out of the copier industry, for example, and are very familiar with like, what is that copier in there? It's an IM 600 or something. And like they know that they're familiar with printer software, technology. So, I mean, it's a lot of little things.
But they won't do hardware.
They won't do hardware, but there's not a whole lot of hardware other than, well, they can go in and help you with a problem from there. That's what managed IT support is. Mike's having a problem accessing a file. They dial into your laptop through Kaseya, do the diagnosis, and fix the problem. And it works really well. Where Vince tended to show up in person often. and you eliminate the server, then there's no real need for that. All we basically have is, they did suggest getting, even though we move away from a physical server, they still said get a firewall. That's true, Rick?
Mhm.
I have to defer to you too.
I mean, that doesn't sound like the cost is gonna, you know, it's gonna be in the same ballpark, I would assume. I don't. If we're worried about trying to get some better numbers, then yeah, we wait. If not, then just proceed.
I might be able to save us 20% or something. I don't mind making the call. You know, maybe I'll check, I can check White River Junction just to see. The one thing I do know is like this has been comprehensive. That's what I've experienced. But we might find somebody else. And just from your experience, Rick, does that sort of seem price-wise for?
Yeah, it's, you know, I'd get 3 quotes from 3 different people, but just to see where they're in the ballpark, it's just normal. But it's not too far-fetched.
I mean, it doesn't cost me anything to get another quote. I can share that.
Well, this style is gonna be less costly than a boutique service where people come.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just saving the money on coming to your place, you know, not driving or doing anything, so they can charge less.
I'd like to get it before the server like craps out at some point too.
Yeah, you want the server out of here. Get it in the cloud, that's what you want.
Yeah, I mean, we can say, and I'm comfortable proceeding with it if you want to do it, if you don't find anything cheaper. I mean, we could say it that way too. Like if you don't find anything that's more, as comparable of a service for the same amount, you know what I mean? If it's drastically different, then present it. If not, then just pull the trigger on it.
Okay, all right. Well, I will make some.
I would think the service that you're gonna get, that you're most comfortable with and confident in is a real key. You know, more than a couple $100, one way or another.
I mean, it's possible I could get to somebody that gave me the right answers too, right? Really good answers, and for a little less, but
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody bothered with this. Hard to know. But why don't I just make the calls? Make a couple more calls and see.
Okay.
And then I'll have something to compare. But I think we're going down the right road here, I think, yeah.
I mean, ultimately.
You never know.
Okay.
Jim, I have some questions. Was there a motion and approval of the computer or no? Or were we,
I think it was what, $230?
and that was again to come up with
Yeah.
just the,
So we're gonna buy it on Black Friday?
We could. That's how we got that TV. Where is it, that one?
well, and it doesn't, I just want to be sure because we didn't make a motion on it, right?
Did you include like a workstation with it too?
Well, I mean, we've got a table there that extends the legs up a bit. We've got some things.
It'll be like a doorbuster, you know, Hewlett Packard at Costco or something, for $300, you know? We can do that.
Are you going to go out and visit the store?
I went and got this TV, yeah.
Yeah,
I like Black Friday. Yeah, let's make a motion to get a computer.
Okay.
Black Friday.
So Jay first and Keith.
Yeah, second. Let's do it.
All right, other business. Liquor licenses.
Liquor.
Okay.
Declined.
Why did dear?
Until you open a bar, we want to see a bar.
We want a discount. 25% discount for select board members on spirits.
What I'm trying to do is that one of those garages,
And the town clerk too.
I want to turn into like a 6 to 8 table diner.
Oh, you said that, yeah.
So but I'm working on the architectural plans right now. It's just small, nothing big, but someplace people around can go and get a dinner.
Okay, need a motion?
Yep.
I'll make the motion to approve the liquor license.
I'll second.
Application. In front of us.
Today's the 16th.
You're gonna turn the garages into something, right? Isn't that what you're saying?
The one facing the garage is the one on the left, we're thinking of turning into like a 6 to 8 table restaurant type thing, but with just 2 seats, like 5:30 and 7, and that's it.
Right, with a fixed menu.
With like a family style menu, people come in, no more than 3 or 4 people at a table. Come in, get a nice dinner, get a drink, and go. It's in the early planning stages, but I think we need that around here, so. But that'll help attract people to the town. That East Plymouth will have a restaurant, well, mini restaurant, I don't know what to call it.
Fish tacos.
How were they?
Very good.
Were they good?
They were good.
You've got fish tacos there now?
We made some for Jay the other day.
Special order?
So he kept bugging me.
Just annoyed them until they did it.
That could be a menu item now, Jay's Fish Tacos.
We talked about it, believe it or not. We're actually gonna call it JK's Tacos. That's what the name was.
That would be neat to have some names like that of, you know, yeah.
We're trying redoing the menu and everything. So you're gonna be infamous.
Under other business, one thing we forgot, I meant to add this too, Angela reminded us. A while ago, Two Rivers reached out and they want to schedule a Zoom meeting with this neighbor group. And I think this is Rochester, Stockbridge, Pittsfield, and Pomfret. And I thought Bridgewater was on there, but I don't see it. Anyhow, I think we talked about this a while back. We didn't give it a whole lot of. What they were proposing is Torque providing some services, a Two Rivers managed position that towns can pay into was one option. A Two Rivers assisting towns in finding and developing a position for a joint employee to work part-time between multiple towns. And I think at one time this was a town manager possibly or a grant person. Or 3 one-off contracts with Torque. For example, a specific grant program or project, direct services. So they're going to have a meeting about it, but what they want to find out in this meeting is needs, desires related to staffing by towns, level of interest, and town's ideal timeline. And if your town is no longer interested in these discussions, let them know. My initial thoughts are, one of the original ideas is that they propose like a town manager between Plymouth and Bridgewater. I think my own thoughts are at current staffing levels, we seem pretty good. As far as the grants go, my thought is like the pipeline is going to dry up with federal money like it is in the schools. I don't know about committing to some kind of position. I love getting grant money. The last 4 years, I think we've seen more grants than ever.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to continue. That's my instinct. I don't know. The pork is shrinking. Well, maybe, I don't know.
Tell me in your own words what that says. You lost me.
So
what are they trying to do?
So Two Rivers wants to know, like, if towns need support, either the town manager, a grant writer, or any combination of, and they want to know if we're interested in paying for a position managed by Two Rivers to do that, because they recognize the capacity of us to handle and manage grants, because we do this as volunteers, right? We spend hours doing it.
Yeah. Wonder how much they charge.
I could ask that, but you could figure it out pretty quick. If I was to guess, this is like a $70,000 a year position plus benefits, or maybe 60. So talk, say $75,000 a year, and then divide by 3 towns or 4 towns.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah.
So they're marketing themselves in this capacity and trying to get the towns to sign on for it?
Well, they want to know if towns are interested. They're not pushing for it, but they just, towns have come forward and said this. Like, we need help, we don't have the capacity, especially with we got lucky with Cherry being able to help us out. She got us through all the FEMA work, right? But,
So they would get grant money to provide the position, in other words?
they might get some of that, but I think it'd be, they're looking to us for funding.
Oh, they want us to pay the bill?
They were looking for us to fund that.
So they do some grant writing for us now,
They help out,
right?
for the town.
Yeah.
The roads, right?
Right. So I wonder what's different.
So this would probably be like the Merck grant they would have, and that wasn't onerous by any means, but we and I did that. We wrote up the bid spec for the, little house, they would do that.
Yeah.
They would probably be watching for grants, like they know our town needs a grader, so they'd be watching and then apply for it, so. These aren't, and I had, I got an assessment from Two Rivers in the league, and I don't know if I shared that. They interviewed me, I talked what our town might be interested in. It didn't seem like there's a whole lot out there for us.
Okay.
Unless new stuff comes across the desk, it seems like one of us just has to commit to spending a couple hours to do it. The administration can be a hassle. Like this EWP grant, there are so many steps in that grant with deliverables. And that's where, you can spend 30 to 40 hours working on a grant pretty easy. That can be tough for us as volunteers.
Without really knowing what's coming down the pipe for future grants, and if it's applicable for Plymouth, it's really hard to say, do we want to kick in $25,000 and sign up for something that might come down the road 2 years from now? I mean, I'm not opposed to paying them to do grant work, but on a case-by-case basis.
A la carte.
Yeah, that would seem more appealing to me, but that's me.
Yeah, because if you have say all 3 towns don't have any grants, you're paying this person to do nothing.
Yeah, they'd find other projects probably for them, but you're right, we'd be
But
fine.
I mean, if we're gonna buy a $500,000 grader and looking for a $500,000 grant, well, that may be a reasonable investment to pay him a couple $1,000s or pay an hourly rate or something to help us with it. But if it's just, I don't know.
Like the fire department grant the
Yeah.
other day, right, Angela? We had to figure that
Yeah.
out. We had all these amendments to make to the town policy that we approved at that special
Yeah.
meeting, but that took time to put that together.
Yeah.
I mean,
And if I could add something in that's whatever you got, so there's, charities doing grant stuff for Ludlow, and they don't have anything right now, but she's keeping her eye out, so of course she's here too. Would it be an option to give her the first option, because she's looking for grants, and, she's very good and detailed, and if she wanted some hours, I'm just putting that out there, and while
Might be
she's
more
here.
cost efficient than paying somebody
Yeah,
salary.
and we know how she works and how good and detailed she is, and she may hear things down there and vice versa, you know what I mean, that help.
well, it's like we magically have this person that's really good at this,
Yes,
and
yes.
we've never, this is kind of a new thing, and so I guess,
And every time something comes through, she's like, can we use this?
Yeah.
Why aren't we doing this? Or just, to take advantage of any free money out there if it fits. If it fits.
so 2 years ago, we'd probably have been all over this, but now that we have Cherry, it's probably.
Yeah, it does make a difference.
Yeah. But we could use some help with implementation if we found one. And I could say, that's something we could talk about, but I don't think we can commit to staffing, like paying an annual fee to staff. Is that what I'm?
I would say it doesn't make sense to have another full-time staff position. If she's willing to take it on and we need it, then why not?
I mean, I don't want to volunteer her, but I put the, what I mean, something she would definitely do to help, and, she works night or something.
Grant writing, it's an art. And it's
It's a-
different. It's a,
Pain in the butt, it really is.
yeah, people make good money doing it. It's a whole
Yeah.
separate thing. So to volunteer to do it, I don't know. I mean, it's a lot to ask.
Dave is really good too, he used to.
Is he good too?
Yeah, very detailed, he's a very smart man. So it would be another one to pull in.
He was working on one for, I think it's $250,000 to split between Bridgewater and Plymouth for fire department packs that are.
Is that what Dave's working on?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a.
That's what you needed the compliance for, right?
Yeah, all nuclear packs and a filling thing, that's big for the department, very big.
So I got my marching orders if I go to that meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
I get my 2 cents.
Okay.
Spend it wisely.
So it's warrants and mail for us, yeah?
Oh, boy.
I think
No,
so.
no executive session. There's nothing.
I don't know of anything.
For the next agenda, on October 7th, could we do finance as well? Just because we're getting around to the budgeting season. I want to just review
Yeah.
where we landed
Is that
last
the next
year.
meeting, October 7th?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what Angela's got us down for.
okay. Well, then we better be there.
It's the holiday.
Is it
It's
Columbus?
Columbus, the
It's like
Columbus Day,
14th or 17th or something.
or Indigenous People Day, I don't know what it's called. It's the second Monday, isn't it?
I would have to go look.
I got a calendar. It's the first Monday, is the 7th.
That's the holiday.
So it doesn't show it on my calendar, but not that.
I can go look.
Nope, it's the 14th. It's the holiday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
14th, right? It's the second Monday.
Okay.
So what's in a lot of stuff.
One step, step over.
Yeah, just clean up this crap, yeah. Do you want this to be part of the meeting, warrants and mail, or are we good?
Nobody wants to watch that.
Oh, you can shut us off.